You're listening to Pombo and Peter's Picks, the home of your favorite sports betting podcast. Presented by The Daily Goat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pombo and Peter's Picks. I'm Jason Pombo, with always Peter Alves. How we doing, Peter?
How we doing? This week's a good week. Other than The Walking Dead's over. Sucks.
Why is it a good week this week?
I don't know. Feeling good. Red Sox won. We'll get into that later. But
Fair enough. So you just mentioned The Walking Dead's ending. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
for my mental state, it's a good thing. Overall, it's a bad thing, but because I'll be sad. But that show sucks.
So is the season finale? That was last week, correct?
Well, yeah, the first 8 episodes finale is over, and then second 8 is probably gonna return in 2022, probably January, February.
Oh, so not that. Oh, so 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, so the
It'll
Walking
probably
Dead
be over by the end of 2022.
So the Walking Dead isn't out of your life yet.
No, never.
The Walking Dead's just for me. It feels like you have this love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's an abusive
One
relationship.
day, yeah, one day you're just like, The Walking Dead is my favorite show on earth. I can't wait to watch this new episode. And then 2 hours later, after I know Peter watched it, he'll text me, be like, that episode freaking sucked.
Yeah, I always get hyped, and then it always leaves me.
Well, the thing is, you're just so emotionally invested in it because you've watched it from the beginning. So I understand that. But catch Peter's articles on The Walking Dead. Peter, how many have you done? You've probably done 15 of them, maybe.
Probably. Been doing a review and prediction for every episode, 1 through 8. They're slowing down now because there's no new episodes. So. But.
Any more Walking Dead articles, or was that the closure on Wednesday?
No, I'll have a few more, but they won't be as frequent until they come back.
They won't die yet.
No, of course not.
All right, Peter, let's transition to sports here. I think this last week's slate of NFL games was pretty good for us anyway. For me in particular, I went 4-1. I had the Cowboys -4.5 over the Panthers. I was correct on that. I had the Ravens +1 over the Broncos. Right about that one. I had the Seattle San Fran under 52. I was right about that. I had Atlanta Washington over 48. I was right about that. My lone loss was Noah's Lions +3 against Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. I was wrong about that one. But nonetheless, Peter, 4-1. By far my best record of the NFL season through the first 4 weeks. So, I'm pretty happy about that. You did pretty good yourself.
It's true. We both went positive, 3-2. I think, low-key, that's the best I've ever done this NFL season, which is pretty sad, but it's fine. Got the Bills at -16. That's my premium pick of the week. Davis Mills sucks. Ravens +1. Patriots +7. Thank God Antonio Brown didn't catch those in the fourth quarter. Losses, Titans -8. Looking back on it, I shouldn't have bet on that because that whole team was injured. And then Bengals -7.5. They didn't show up till the second half. So.
Yes, it was a good week for you. So combined, we did. Peter, you can do the math right there, 7-3.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a 700 batting average. That's good. We'll take that 100% of the time. Maybe this coming week we'll be 10-0 combined.
Oh, 10-0 for sure.
Hey, we're building off of it, and maybe this is just the next step. Early we had to get our footing together, but now we're moving on, and we're doing pretty well here. In Survivor, we survived another week.
Yeah, so we're gonna get far.
Look at us. I think we're doing phenomenal work here. All right, Peter, let's talk about some Bucs Patriots here, right? So I was at the game. It was probably, I was telling you before we started recording, was one of the best experiences I ever had at a professional sports game. I think the environment, the atmosphere was crazy. I think the game itself was a nail biter. Granted, the Patriots fell short for a variety of reasons, but I thought overall the atmosphere, everything that was part of the game presentation was awesome. I had a fantastic time. And it was awesome. I was so glad I went. And I think even so, I recorded the NBC's coverage of it as well. And I was rewatching it on Monday. And I thought NBC did a phenomenal job of just giving you insight of what was going on in the stadium during the pregame, interviewing people. And I thought they did a phenomenal job with that too. So I think all around, if you're not a Patriots fan or a Tom Brady supporter, or you don't really have a dog in the fight, you might think this Bucs Patriots game was drawn out. Because we pretty much talked about it for 2 straight weeks.
It was a little of a soap opera, though.
100%. It felt like it was
especially on Sunday.
Island.
They're just in the locker rooms. They're talking to Belichick. They're talking to Brady.
Yeah, and it was just exactly. It was like The Bachelorette. Like it was just crazy. And from my perspective, anyway, so I wrote an article for dailygoats.com and it was just kind of hyping up the game a little bit. And as I'm writing it, I'm like, it feels like I'm writing like a screenplay, like I'm writing like a movie. It was just odd, but here we are. We're finally post the game, and the Bucs ended up hanging on to defeat the Patriots 19-17. The Patriots did cover. Good stuff, Peter. But on the game, I think so. Just quick recap here. Tom Brady, he did not play his best game. I thought he was inaccurate. He was 22 of 43, 269 yards. He had a QBR of 55.4. His best friend throwing the ball was Mike Evans and Antonio Brown. They combined for 14 receptions, over 100 yards receiving, and they were targeted 23 times. So those are Brady's go-to guys. Godwin was pretty much shut down by Jalen Mills, and they were without, obviously, Rob Gronkowski and Giovanni Bernard. Two big losses for that offense. On the other side, Mac Jones, I thought he probably played his best game of his young NFL career. He was 31 of 40, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick, and a QBR of 46. In terms of receiving leaders for the Patriots, Jacoby Myers, this kid still impresses me to this day. 8 receptions for 70 yards, still yet to catch a touchdown pass. But, Peter, he did complete 2 passes for 45 yards. And his completion percentage remains 100% when he throws the ball. I think he's 4 of 4 now. So I think the takeaway from this game is Bill Belichick's elected to kick a 56-yard field goal opposed to going for it on 4th and 3. And Nick Folk, he was off the crossbar, and it was no good, and then resulted in a Bucs victory. So I don't agree with that decision. I think Belichick should have kept Mac Jones in the offense on the field. What do you think of the game, and what do you think of Belichick's decision?
Well, the decision, I didn't like that either, but I think that he did that not to get his quarterback killed, just in case they didn't convert that 4th and 3, because it would have been all on Mac Jones instead of just Nick Folk, because then who cares? But I liked his game plan all the way around. I think he shut down Brady. I think Brady was nervous in the first quarter. He's missing people over the top. I think they were missing Gronk in the end red zone for sure.
Me too.
That's a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think the game overall was pretty good. But were you the type of people that were cheering for Brady the whole time, or did you cheer for Brady that one time?
So I will
video package and then boot him all the way through, because I think that was a nice touch.
So I'll tell you what, there was a lot more people booing Tom Brady than I anticipated. So it felt like the overwhelming majority when Brady first came out was to an applause. But after the video tribute and Brady made his way onto the field, it felt like there was a lot of boos raining in. Now, at that moment, I continued to clap. Justin,
it was
on the
loud
other hand,
on the TV broadcast. I was like, holy crap. People were like, I know he's like an opposing player and you don't.
Yeah,
like,
but
that,
no, he got booed more than I anticipated. I mean, I didn't personally boo him ever in part of the game. But Justin of the Bo Sox Bombas, your co-host, Peter, he booed him the whole night long. It was crazy. Night long. But he wasn't alone. He was not alone. He wasn't an outlier. There was a lot of people booing Tom Brady, and I was surprised. I really was. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to respect it, because the Patriots fans that were there, they stuck loyal to the team. They stuck loyal to Belichick. And I think Tom Brady, even in a way, was a little surprised that he was getting booed.
Probably. Well, going back to that field goal too, I think if they would have made that field goal, I think Brady would have just marched down the field again and then just scored that field goal. So I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah, that's my second gripe with it. There's 55 seconds left in the clock. Now, even if Folk makes that long field goal attempt in the pouring rain,
he had enough distance. I'll give him
Exactly.
credit, even in the rain.
Yeah, it was a good attempt, but that's a low percentage field goal attempt. Not to mention, Folk, he had a banged up leg. I'm not going to put too much stock into that because he's on the roster. He's obviously healthy enough to kick, and he's been active every game. And Quinn Nordine is on IR as well. So it's not like Nick Folk hasn't practiced or he was stuck in terms of being limited in terms of when he's going to kick. No, Nick Folk was pregame. He was kicking from about 55, 60 yards out, but that's just his pregame routine. And I'm sure Bill Belichick, I don't think he was like, I don't want to go for it on 4th and 3 because I don't trust Mac Jones. I think it's more, I don't trust the people around Mac Jones, AKA the offensive line, AKA he was sacked 4 times. I think he wasn't convinced the offensive line could hold out that Tampa defense for one play, because I think there's some playmakers on that Bucs defense, despite the fact that they haven't had a great year. They're still in the front 7 as good as anyone.
Again, I'm surprised they didn't pick on Richard Sherman more. And when the 2 cornerbacks went out, I'm surprised they didn't throw all over him. They ran the
Yeah, sure,
ball
yeah.
8 times, but I think it was 8 too many. I think after that one play where like Damian Harris got stuffed for like 5 yards right in the beginning of the game, I was like,
Yep.
don't run it ever again.
So yeah, as you mentioned, the run game, the Patriots had 8 carries for -1 yards rushing, but that really isn't uncharacteristic. The Cowboys did the same thing.
Yeah, no one runs on the Bucs.
No one tries to run on them, but I think they tried those 8 carries because from your Josh McDaniels and your Bill Belichick, you're sitting there and you're like, my quarterback's getting killed. I got to give him a little bit of a blow for a couple snaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Mac Jones was getting the crap kicked out of him. So I think they wanted to mix in the run, maybe that you get 3 yards or something like that, maybe 4 if you're lucky. But that just wasn't the case. Damian Harris had 4 carries for -4 yards rushing. And he struggled, but he wasn't really given an opportunity, rightfully so, against that front seven.
They got to get a backup running back behind him, though.
Yeah, I think that's a
If Bolden's
situation.
or James White de facto, I think J.J. Taylor and Stevenson, it sucks. I think they have a fumbling problem, and they're just going to oppositely get inactive, and then, yeah.
Well, I think Ramondre Stevenson, he's pretty much been silenced since that week 1 where he had a failed protection and he had the fumble. So no one's heard from him since week 1. And it comes to J.J. Taylor. I've been calling for J.J. Taylor to get an opportunity for a while now. He showed a lot of promise in the preseason, and I felt like he'd make a little bit of an impact in that James White role. Now, after week 4, my confidence is certainly shaken. He had that fumble, but I don't think I'm going to completely write off J.J. Taylor. Like I still think there is something there, but I agree with your overall premise that they needed an additional running back, whether it's Marlon Mack, who the Colts are reportedly looking to move, whether it's adding another veteran on the street, signing
Duke Johnson,
off the practice squad,
why aren't
something
you
like that. Yeah,
on a team?
Something like that. Even if it's trying to acquire Rex Burkhead from Houston, you giving him a 7th round pick or something, like just another body, I think would be truly beneficial for that running back group. Because Damian Harris, I don't believe he's going to make it through this year fully healthy.
Oh no, he's getting killed.
And if you lose Harris, you're screwed because you look at Brandon Bolden, he's a special teams guy. I think Bolden is probably the best in terms of pass protection, but he is not good with the ball in his hands. And J.J. Taylor and Ramondre Stevenson are a big unknown. Now, against Houston in week 5, let's say J.J. Taylor and Ramondre Stevenson rush for 100 yards combined. Then I'll shut my mouth and say they're going to be okay. But we haven't seen that yet.
Sure. I mean, that won't shut me up, though. They're the Texans. I don't think they can stop anybody.
But they haven't been able to run really on anybody yet. So I think just something is better than nothing. Their best running performance was probably week 2 against the Jets. They had a couple big bursts. That Damian Harris run into the end zone is the one that pops into your head. But they haven't really solidified as a top 10 rushing team in the NFL like I thought they would be. But I also thought they'd be a better offensive line group in front of those running backs. And that hasn't come to fruition yet either, because that offensive line group has been abysmal, to say the least.
They got to start winning games, though. I'm tired of the stupid moral victories. They should be 3-1.
Yeah, they could easily be 3-1. So they play the Texans this week in Houston. There's already some concerns. We're going to get into the Stephon Gilmore trade later in the show, but Mike Owenu, left guard, Isaiah Wynn, left tackle, both on COVID protocol. It's unknown whether or not they're going to miss the game on Sunday. It's all dependent on if they are vaccinated or not. If they are not vaccinated, they are required to sit out for 10 days. If they are vaccinated, they only need to register 2 negative tests within a 24-hour span of each other, along with being asymptomatic. And then
Isaiah Wynn's the worst offensive lineman I've ever seen in my life.
Isaiah Wynn, he's inconsistent for sure. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I thought this would be the year he'd be able to put it together. I thought for sure he had a full off season of being healthy. And I had high expectations for Isaiah Wynn, and it hasn't lived up to the hype. Now, if Isaiah Wynn is out for some reason and Mike Owenu is also out, let's say they get Trent Brown back, I move Trent Brown to left tackle.
I agree.
That's what I would do. But there's still a long ways to go on the COVID front for the Patriots in terms of if those guys will be available or not. Mike Owenu, who I thought was phenomenal last year, he was one of the most impactful rookies in all of the league last year, a 6th round pick from Michigan. He has struggled. Not sure if it has to do with a lingering injury or I'm not exactly sure what's up with him. And even David Andrews, he hasn't been the same. Shaq Mason was better in this game, but Shaq Mason as a whole hasn't played well, and we haven't seen Trent Brown since the first series in Miami. So trouble is as bad as it gets. So, and it's not good for this offensive line. They need to get it together because I think that's what's holding them back, and it's going to get Mac Jones killed.
I agree. They got to start winning games. They're scuffling real bad.
They have a winnable game this week against Houston, then they're 2-3. Then they're back home against the Cowboys. Then we have discussion on our hands. The Cowboys offense is certainly rolling, but the Patriots have had the Cowboys number the last number of years. They had their number last year. They beat them in Dallas a number of years ago. So it's Mike McCarthy. It's a different Cowboys team. Dak Prescott's healthy now, but I'm still not fully convinced Dallas can come up here in a Gillette afternoon when it's 50 degrees in the rain and get a win. But we'll see. That's a discussion for 2 weeks from now. Or next week, I should say.
Then they have the Jets, and then
exactly. So you can get right back into this thing really quick if you win against Houston, and then you win against Dallas and the Jets. Again, then you'd be 4-3, and that outlook is a lot more positive.
Browns. Right.
Yeah, and again, if you can, I don't think they'll lose all 3 of those games. I just don't. They had Herbert's number last year. The Browns game, that's gonna be a tricky one. And then Carolina. So they just now got Stephon Gilmore, but Sam Darnold loves to play the Patriots, to say the least, right?
Yeah, that's true. Redeem himself
For sure. And I'm a big Sam Darnold Panthers guy, Peter. You know that. All right, Cardinals Rams, Peter. That was another exciting game this weekend. So I like the Rams going into the game. Did you? I know we didn't pick it, but I did.
I did too. I thought the Rams were just gonna steamroll. Well, not steamroll them because I like the Cardinals offense, but I think the Rams slept. I think they weren't ready for that game, and I think they're just coming off the emotional loss versus the Bucs. Well, the emotional win, I should say, versus the Bucs. I think they're looking past this game, which is crazy. But
yeah, I didn't want to call the Cardinals overrated coming into this game, but I didn't put them in the same pedigree and hold them to the same regard as I did the Rams. But the Cardinals came up and the offense showed. They won 37-20. Kyler Murray was 24 of 32 for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was phenomenal. Chase Edmonds on the ground, 12 carries, 120 yards. And the crazy thing is the Cardinals put up 37 points, and DeAndre Hopkins only had 4 receptions for 67 yards. Stafford, he struggled. I don't want to say struggled, but he had his worst game of his Rams career. He was 26 of 41, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And him and Cooper Kupp have been a great combination, probably the best quarterback-receiver combination in this past year so far. Kupp was held to 5 catches for 64 yards. But this Rams defense was certainly exposed to some extent. And the Cardinals, they're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. So I present you this question. Are the Cardinals for real?
I think so. I think what's going to hold them back is their division, because I think if they sleep at all, I think the Rams are going to catch them, and maybe the Seahawks. I think the 49ers are too injured again, but I think that if they were in any other division, I think they could have sleepwalked for the number 1 seed, but I don't think they can step their foot off the gas. My MVP, Kyler Murray, looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think Murray's been great. I mean, the one thing that I kind of look towards, I think his protection is a little bit better. Despite the fact that he got sacked 3 times in this game, I think overall in 4 games, his protection has been better than it has been throughout his career. Do you remember those clips earlier on in his career where he'd get absolutely killed?
Yeah, he's just
every time he stepped back in the pocket. You know what I mean?
Running for his life the whole time. He's kind of like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but except I think Cliff Kingsbury has a clue as a coach. I think that Cardinals defense is coming into its own. And something else impressive with the Cardinals is so like we just talked about, they're 4-0, but they're 3-0 on the road. And winning on LA against a divisional opponent like the Rams, that's no easy thing to do, and they did it. So I'm buying into this Cardinals team for now. Do I think they're going to win the division? No. But do I think they're going to make the playoffs at this point? It's hard to say no, because right now they're in a position in which they are comfortable with each other. There's some chemistry now with Murray and the rest of the offense. I think Kingsbury has his program fully going there now. And the defense, like we talked about, is finally clicking, which is huge for this Arizona Cardinals team. Can they stay healthy for the rest of the year? Can they beat the Rams again? Can they beat San Fran next week? Those are all big question marks.
It's true. Larry Fitzgerald, you should have never left.
The curse of Larry Fitzgerald, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right, and the last game here I want to go over is another NFC West battle that took place. Was the Seattle Seahawks and San Francisco 49ers. So Seattle ended up winning 28-21. Russell Wilson, 16 of 23, 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. He played well in the second half, which was huge. San Francisco 49ers, on the other hand, Jimmy Garoppolo left with an injury. He was 14 of 23 for a touchdown and a pick. Garoppolo left with a calf injury, and his status is uncertain going forward. He didn't practice on Wednesday. His status for Sunday, apparently it's up in the air. Trey Lance, he looked okay at best. I mean, he was 9 of 18, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. I still don't believe Trey Lance is ready, and Seattle ended up hanging on to move to 2-2. And San Fran's now dropped 2 games in a row to fall 2-2. So let's say Garoppolo is out next week, and let's say the Cardinals win over the 49ers next week, and San Fran falls to 2-3. Is it time to panic in San Francisco, or do you believe this is just a small blip?
No, I think it's time to panic because I don't think Garoppolo is gonna come back anytime soon. I think I think us with Garoppolo, like put him to a high standard, I think that's over. I think he's one of the softest people in this league because I think that because their coach was like, yeah, you might play, and then Garoppolo's like, no, I'm out for like a few weeks. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
because he always does this. He's like, my shoulder hurts, like whatever.
Garoppolo's missed a crap ton of games over the whole span of his career.
And he even like in the press conference, he's like, I'm tired of getting hurt, but like I don't know, you're just injury prone.
Yeah, and the thing is, I personally believe that Garoppolo's play was not the reason why the 49ers drafted Trey Lance in the first round. I believe it was Garoppolo's durability, which made the decision easier for the 49ers to trade up for Trey Lance. Now, Garoppolo and his post-game press conference pretty much talked about like how he was going to miss the next 2 or 3 weeks. But then after that press conference, Kyle Shanahan went and talked to him. He was like, no, like we think Jimmy might have the chance to practice on Wednesday, and we think he'll probably be able to go on Sunday. So there's clearly some miscommunication on both sides. I'm sure the relationship between Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan isn't all rainbows and sunshine. I'm sure Garoppolo feels slighted that Trey Lance is even there. And I'm sure that Kyle Shanahan doesn't really want Garoppolo there. So these two guys probably aren't in the best of terms. And Garoppolo, I think, wants to make sure he's fully healthy for his next part of his career. So I think he's like, hey, Kyle, I'll be healthy when I'm healthy. You know, you cast me out. You're already gung-ho about Trey Lance, so I'm going to play when I'm ready. Now, that's a bad mindset to have because Garoppolo isn't in a situation where he's the guy that's steering the ship. Because next year when he's traded, who knows where he's going to end up. His stock across the league isn't that high. I think his stock locally is higher than it is nationally. I think that's fair to say because I think most people around the country believe Garoppolo is just injury prone and average quarterback at best.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we hold him to a higher standard because obviously he was Brady's heir apparent, but I do not want him anywhere close to this team. And I don't know where it would go, to be honest with you. Maybe like Pittsburgh or something.
Well, I think if Garoppolo were to get moved next year, I think let's just say Houston.
Oh, he's definitely getting moved next year.
Yeah. So let's say Houston moves on from Deshaun Watson in the offseason. Let's say they send him to Miami or whatever. I don't think it's out of the question for Houston to trade for Garoppolo and then draft a quarterback. And then while he's developing, you have Garoppolo as that bridge guy, sort of like what Tyrod Taylor is now. Garoppolo has the familiarity with GM Nick Caserio. So I think that could be a possible situation that unfolds. There's a couple others across the league that kind of make sense. The Giants, if the Daniel Jones experiment fails, he has some familiarity with Joe Judge. I could see Garoppolo ending up in New York to play with the Giants. If the Packers end up moving Aaron Rodgers, and let's say Jordan Love isn't the guy they thought he was, you trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think he does have some options in 2022. Granted, they're not fantastic, and they're not. It's not like he's got every team calling about him. And Denver's another option that could present itself, but it pretty much feels like all the teams that are gonna miss out on a Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's true.
Like he's that backup, like option C. But it doesn't look good for him in terms of his stock across the league. What about Seattle? I know you're down on Seattle, but they're 2-2 now.
Yeah, they got a hard game this week versus the Rams on a short week on Thursday.
Yep.
But,
I'm pretty disappointed that game's Thursday. Not gonna lie.
No, I mean it's about time that Thursday gets a real game.
But Thursday's always been competitive, though. Even against the Cincinnati Jacksonville, that game was tight to the end.
I don't know. That game should be really, really good. But I think the Rams are gonna whip them because I don't even think that Chris Carson is gonna play. He hasn't practiced 2 days.
Yeah, Carson, his his status looks uncertain. But I take it back. Buffalo, Kansas City is probably a better Sunday night game. So I will shut my mouth on that one. All right, Peter, let's get in some NFL topics going around the league. I think first and foremost, we should talk about Stephon Gilmore. So Wednesday morning, we all woke up to at 8 a.m. pretty much on the dot that the Patriots have released Stephon Gilmore. So Gilmore was placed on the PUP list earlier in the season, meaning he's going to miss the first 6 games. But many speculated that he would be on track to play in week 7. So I felt like that's what things were trending towards. It didn't look like there was any breaks in terms of the contract negotiation with the Patriots. That's been ongoing since probably the end of the 2019 season. And then sure enough, Peter, probably about, 2 or 3 o'clock on Wednesday, Stephon Gilmore ended up not being released. Instead, he was dealt to the Carolina Panthers for a 2023 6th-round pick.
I don't get how football trades work at all.
All right, I'll explain it to you. I got this.
I don't get it.
So here's the thing with Gilmore. So in the NFL, nothing is official till 4 p.m.
Well, not even that. How is he worth a 2023 6th-round pick? I know you're going to get a 3rd-round contemptory pick.
They're not going to get a comp pick.
Oh, they're not going to get a comp? Why?
Because they traded him and he hasn't played any games during the season.
Oh,
so he doesn't fit into the comp formula. So
what you're saying is they should have traded him in the offseason. They would have got a comp pick?
Correct. I would have traded him I talked about it last year. I actually wrote an article way back when, how I thought they should trade him at the deadline. He just sold his house, and it looked like the Patriots were 2-4 at the time, and it didn't look like they were really in any rush to pay Gilmore. And my theory was you might not be able to get a first for him due to his age and contract situation, but you can probably get a 2nd and a 3rd, or a 2nd and a 4th, something like that. But the Patriots chose to just give him a pay bump and play into the season. And it didn't come to fruition because he hurt his quad. I believe it was week 16 last year. And he missed all of the spring, missed all of training camp. I'm sure he would be healthy enough to play if he was in good contract standings, but he chose not to play. So the Patriots placed him on the PUP, and he has virtually no value because he is a free agent in 3 months. He's 31 years old, and he has a banged up quad. So all that comes together to get, here's a 6th-round pick.
I'm surprised he went to the Panthers, to be honest with you.
Really? That was the team. So I tweeted, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I tweeted Wednesday morning that I thought the Panthers were the best fit for him. They just lost J.C. Horn, the rookie 1st-round pick. They've showed the aggressiveness to really go out and get anyone they.
Well, they got Henderson.
Exactly. So I saw that, but I felt like they wanted more. They were in on Richard Sherman. Sherman ended up.
How did the Bucs not get him? I thought that was for sure going to happen.
Well, Tampa, so here's the thing. Carolina, another thing with Carolina is they have about $19-20 million in space. And not to mention.
Did we believe that was the reason why they released him, though? Because the Patriots have $56,000 in cap.
I don't believe it is the exact reason, but I think it played a part of it now because I think this sets up a position now the Patriots can trade for a 3rd down running back or acquire.
They have like $8 million now.
Yeah, it's like $7 or $8 million. Yeah. It's nothing to write home about. But for example, 2 years ago when the Patriots traded a 2nd-round pick for Mohamed Sanu, they wouldn't have been able to do that if they had this particular cap situation. So getting out of Gilmore wasn't going to play this year. It was clear that's why they did it. And they said, screw it, we'll just get a 6th-round pick back or we'll get nothing because we'll get the space back. Because if he's just going to sit there and not do anything, screw it. At this point, I think that's what they were thinking. Now, it sucks because I think they could have got something better in the offseason. Even at the draft, I feel like they probably could have got a 3rd or a 4th-round pick. Certainly a miscalculation. And it's unfortunate because Gilmore's tenure in New England, I think it was wildly successful. The Patriots got a lot of crap when they signed Stephon Gilmore on the first day of free agency in 2017. Remember, a lot of people were like, oh, that's not something the Patriots do, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, that was like the first day of free agency.
It was, and they also had Malcolm Butler, so it didn't make any sense at the time. But it ended up being one of the best free agency signings of the Bill Belichick era. You can point to the 2017 AFC Championship game. You can point to the 2018 Super Bowl. He was the Defensive Player of the Year in 2019. Gilmore
does
was
stick out though. He didn't stop Devontae Parker though.
Oh,
Week
yeah,
17
for sure.
when they absolutely needed to, and then Ryan Fitzpatrick torched them.
But I think the overwhelming majority of those contracts, they don't really live up to the hype.
I hate NFL players. Literally just play to your contract. You're so greedy. Even NBA players, like, just play to your contract.
Here's the thing. With Gilmore, he was criminally underpaid this year.
I know you're
He's getting $7 million.
Xavier Howard just did it. I mean,
he was the 26th highest paid cornerback right now in the NFL. I think he was tied for 26. So it's clearly an underpayment, but he took the pay bump last year. And I think at the end of the day, Gilmore was playing games with the team. And there's rumors going around now that Gilmore plans on playing in that current contract with Carolina, which makes no sense.
He already has a house down there.
Yeah, he's from the area. He went to school in South Carolina, and he lives
right
there.
next to the general manager, I think.
Yeah, he lives 2 doors down from the general manager. So I thought Carolina was a perfect fit. He's a perfect fit for the scheme. Carolina's doing everything they can. They have money. I think their ownership group has showed the ability to make splashes. Matt Rule, they paid a lot of money to get him. They gave up significant draft capital to get Sam Darnold there. They spent a lot of money to get Joe Brady there, the offensive coordinator.
Poor Panthers, though, that Joe Brady is going to get a job next year somewhere.
Probably, unless the Panthers owner does something like crafted with McDaniels and make him the highest paid coordinator. But even then, I think Brady will be a head coach in the NFL next season. A lot of people thought he would be this season. But I'll tell you what, I'd bet anything that he would be a coach. He'll be a coach next year. He's that good. The Gilmore thing, it's a miscalculation. It's as simple as that. But he wasn't the only premier star to be released this week, Peter. Another one that caught me off guard was the Cowboys released Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith, linebacker from the Cowboys. He's been an integral part of that defense the last 3 or 4 seasons. He's played every game for the Cowboys since 2017.
He's like 26. He's
26
so
years old. And the Cowboys released him. I know a lot of people were hinting at the possibility that there has to be another reason why he was flat out cut. They owed him a lot of money.
That's what I'm thinking. Because now you're dependent on what, like I know you have Parsons, but like you're like dependent on Van Der Esch.
Yep.
You should have retired last year. Like,
and here's the thing with Jalen Smith, right? Reportedly, he doesn't necessarily fit in Dan Quinn's scheme defensively. And I think he probably wanted out and he made it known. And the Cowboys probably looked around for a trade and there was no one that wanted the money. So I think that's what the situation probably was. So he played more than 90% of the defensive snaps the last 3 seasons. Like I said, he's integral part of that defense. And he's played, again, 2 weeks ago, he played 86% of the snaps. That was only 2 weeks ago. This past week, I think he only played about 42%. But nonetheless, you would think they want to keep around somebody as talented as Jalen Smith. I don't know. I think this one's a bigger surprise to me than Stephon Gilmore. I really do. He's making a lot of money. He's 26 years old. He's great. He might not be a fit with the defensive scheme going on there, but wouldn't you just move him at the end of the season or figure it out then? Like injuries pop up, like you said. Somebody gets banged up, I feel a lot more comfortable with Jalen Smith. If you know what I mean,
right?
It didn't make too much sense for me.
Especially they have like $7 million like dead cap now, and like they still owe him like $9 million. It's like
it makes no sense to me. Like you said, there has to be another shoe to drop, but at this time right now, Wednesday at 5:18 p.m., October 6th, the only thing we've gotten is he wasn't a scheme fit. So and the thing is, the Cowboys. Jerry Jones loves this player. Jerry Jones paid Jalen Smith before he paid Zeke Elliott or Dak Prescott. To put that into perspective, Jalen Smith was the first one of that young Cowboys core to get paid. Remember, they were all on rookie deal. Zeke, Cooper, not Cooper. I'm sorry, Zeke, Dak, like the whole crew. You know what I mean? They were all on rookie deals for the longest time, and he was the first one to get paid. And now he got the boot pretty quick. So he'll be a hot commodity in free agency. I imagine he'll probably get scooped up very quick. There's a lot. I read a report that a team like the Green Bay Packers are in on him. The Packers have had a lot of injuries on their defensive front. I heard the Philadelphia Eagles. Someone else reported the Eagles are in on him too. That'd be crazy if he goes to the Eagles though. Division rival. I thought that would be pretty interesting. But I think the Packers need him more. That Packers defense is banged up. So I think they need any help they can get, especially missing out on Stephon Gilmore, which many people thought they would end up with.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just don't get. I don't get football like at all. To be
What
honest
don't
with
you
you,
get, Peter? What are you confused about?
I don't know. Just
All right, so
people getting
you
released or like
well, I can't help you, Peter. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
You tell you what. Look, Jalen Smith got that contract, and I think it was 2019. I think it was August of 2019. It wasn't that long ago. And since then, I'll tell you what. On Cowboys Twitter, if you look up Cowboys Twitter, they've been roasting Jalen Smith. They're saying he's been out of position, he's been freelancing, this and that, and yada yada. Like, there's been clips that have showed that he's been slow and this whole thing. So, like, I think Dan Quinn probably felt the same way and said, "We don't want this guy here anymore." Our
So
defense
mark
is
my
coming.
words, when Van Der Esch gets hurt next week with
Yeah,
a neck injury or a back injury, they're just gonna be like, "Oh, I need Jalen Smith now," because that's gonna happen.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Jalen Smith is a good player. I do. Can he like? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't, Peter. But the Gilmore
That's a bright
thing.
spot. Their defense is a bright spot. I know it's not
Exactly.
all him.
When was the
It's
last time
Trayvon
you could
Diggs,
say
but
that?
like,
When was the last time you could say that about the Cowboys?
I
Their
know.
defense being a bright spot.
They're
So
just steamrolling the whole division. I think that division's too easy for them.
and that's another thing about we were just talking about Joe Brady being a coach in this league. Dan Quinn is getting himself back in the conversation.
It's true. That defense is looking real good. Trayvon Diggs, I think, is going to be. Right now, I think he's a defensive player of the year.
He's certainly up there. He's got the numbers in terms of the interceptions and all that stuff. So we'll see how that shakes out at the end of the year. I think Myles Garrett's probably a strong front runner as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
Chandler Jones up there too. All right, Peter, let's move on to one more NFL topic. Urban Meyer. So I wrote about all offseason how I think the Jaguars were an overrated team. I felt that Urban Meyer, it was going to take him a long time to get this program going in the right direction. And I just felt like this wasn't it for the Jaguars. There was a lot of people saying they could contend for a playoff spot. And that just hasn't been the case. The Jaguars have been the worst team in football, like the worst team in football. And Urban Meyer, he has set the tone from day one, Peter, from all the things that have really went south from Jacksonville since his arrival.
It's funny he's doing it to himself, though.
Like it's all self-inflicted wounds. You know what I mean? Like Urban Meyer was a fantastic collegiate coach. Like he was one of the best of our generation. He's right behind Saban and he's fantastic. He was great at Florida, Ohio State. Do not get me wrong. But since he's been at Jacksonville, I mean, I can go on for minutes upon minutes about all the things that have went wrong in Jacksonville. I mean, look, right off the top, Jacksonville was fined for OTA violations in the offseason. The Jaguars were fined $200,000. Urban Meyer was fined $100,000. Remember they hired Chris Doyle, the team's director of sports performance, and he was accused of making racist comments. Remember that? How about signing Tim Tebow as tight end? Once Tebow got into a game, how did that look? Poor. If you want to talk about other things, how about the whole thing, how the NFLPA was investigating him because he said he cut players because of the vaccine? You obviously can't say that. 0-4, and now we have this latest thing, Peter. So I'll paint you this picture. So the Jaguars just lost to the Cincinnati Bengals Thursday night football. So the Jaguars don't have to play Sunday. Urban Meyer has family that lives in Ohio, right? I think it's kids and his grandkids. They're playing in Cincinnati. So he elected to skip. Well, no, I shouldn't say skip. He elected to forego to go back to Jacksonville on the team plane. He elected to stay in Ohio with his family while the team flew back. First of all, I think that is the most damning part of this whole story. Chuck Pagano was on the Pat McAfee show today, and he said in 37 years of coaching, he has never seen a coach do that. And of all the years that I followed the NFL, I have never heard of that as well. I've heard of NBA players doing that, skipping, going back as a team, doing whatever. I've heard NBA players doing that, but I've never heard of NFL coaches doing that. That is absolutely unthinkable. And Urban Meyer, I think that is the most damning part of it. And then on top of that, Meyer gets filmed with some younger women at his own bar.
At his own restaurant.
Ohio,
at your
his
own
bar restaurant.
You know that's coming. At your own, listen, don't film people, but like you know that's coming.
Exactly. Like Meyer, that judgment, the awareness, piss poor. I think he should certainly be scrutinized for that. But to me, the most ultimate damning part of this was he didn't fly home with the team. Dude, you're 0-4.
He doesn't
You
care.
have the worst team in the league. I understand, like, you wanted to catch a few days. You wanted to see your grandkids and stuff like that. I fully understand that. But you have a couple of days off here. Fly to Jacksonville with the team and then fly to Ohio if you feel that way. Or do that during a bye week. This is what you signed up for. This is what the NFL is. It's a grind. Now it's 18 weeks. Not at 17 weeks anyway. It's 18. So it's 17 games now. 18-week season in the regular season. It's a grind. It's hours and hours and hours of work a day. And at this point in his career, I mean, a lot of people are like, I'm surprised he didn't resign.
Yeah, on Tuesday, I was waiting for like health risks. I was waiting for like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm not saying he should resign because I don't think what he did was like an offense where he should resign. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was something like that. But one thing that I believe is also not in his favor is I think ownership in Jacksonville is pissed. Did you read the Khan statements? The Khan family?
Yeah, no, they're pissed too. That whole
and then exactly, quote, he must regain our trust and respect, end quote. Like, that says all you need to know. That they're pissed. Shad Khan, he's certainly pissed. And there was other rumors that they were looking at moral clauses that he potentially broke in his contract. So, like, if they were to fire him, maybe they wouldn't have to pay him. So it's a whole mess in Jacksonville. Is he going to make the rest of the year? I think he does. But I do not believe he makes it to the 2022 season. I think
it's week 5. It's week 5.
Seriously, Jacksonville's been in the news every freaking week. Like, it's not even been funny.
It's not even about Trevor Lawrence either.
It hasn't. Actually, you can throw Lawrence in there as well because he also screwed that up too. He had Gardner Minshew in training camp with him, the whole training camp, splitting reps.
Oh, it's
and
true.
Then you just traded Minshew for like a 6th-round pick for no reason. Like, that why would you split reps with Gardner Minshew?
Hey, if you want to rag on that though, you got to rag on Belichick. He did the same exact thing.
That's totally different situation. That's a totally different situation. Absolutely, no, that is totally different. Mac Jones beat Cam Newton in camp. This wasn't an open competition. They might want to say it was, but it was not an open competition. This was Trevor Lawrence's job. And Lawrence is the starter and was always going to be the starter. They just took reps from the kid for absolutely no reason.
Feel bad for Lawrence, though. I don't think he's going to succeed there.
Remember all the stories was like, oh, if he goes to the Jets, he's screwed?
Yeah.
Well, Wilson, you're also screwed, so. Yes,
I don't know. I like Wilson, though.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, he got his first W, so.
Yeah, the Jets, I think, are on the up and up, to be honest with you.
Oh, Peter, you can't say that after 1 week. I'm
what?
not convinced.
Oh, just wait.
I mean, we love Michael Carter, but that's about it. All right, Peter, let's move on to the Red Sox here. Let's talk some postseason baseball. Tuesday night, the Red Sox, Yankees squared off in the wild card for the American League. 1-game elimination. Do you like that style?
Oh, love it. Love it.
Fenway Park was
It doesn't make sense, though, because it's 162 games and then 1 game, but.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with it.
All against the wall, you know?
I love it. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for the players involved. And the Red Sox beat the Yankees 6-2. I'm sure you're going to have fun on your podcast next week against Justin. Oh,
yeah. It's going to be great.
But look, I think the Red Sox, I'm not going to say I was shocked from the performance because I thought it would be a close game, but I didn't think the Red Sox were going to look as good as they had. Xander Bogaerts, who's been quiet the last 2.5 weeks, he had a great game defensively as well as offensively, but I think the story is Nate Eovaldi, right? Eovaldi was fantastic.
Yep, Eovaldi, 5 1/3 innings. He only gave up that 1 home run versus Rizzo. I think he pitched out of his mind, to be honest with you. I didn't like that decision of him getting taken out for Ryan Brazier in the 6th inning, but I mean, it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out, and you really can't get on him then. So Eovaldi in his postseason career now, he's 27 2/3 inning pitched, ERA of 1.63. Hitters are hitting 188 against him. He has had 24 strikeouts. Eovaldi's been great in the postseason, but Garrett Cole has not.
Oh, Garrett Cole is the biggest choke artist I've ever seen in my life. And that's going to be a long 7 years for Yankees fans, I think. Because if you can't pitch on the biggest stage versus the Red Sox at Fenway, because I think they're going to do that a lot, the next 7 years, I think you're going to be in trouble. He only pitched two innings, 50 pitchers. And I think that Garrett Cole is low-key hurt, I think. His hamstring or his arm, something.
I think probably low-key overrated. I think Cole, his contract, it was certainly an overpayment, but I think the Yankees knew what they were getting into with Garrett Cole, and he just hasn't lived up to the hype. Do you think Aaron Boone will be back next season along with general manager Brian Cashman?
I ultimately do because I don't
Yeah, me
think
too.
they can find anybody better than Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. I don't think they're the problem.
Tell you what, if the Yankees, I agree with you about them not being the problem. If the Yankees just ended up being about a 500 ball club like they looked like they were going to be before the trade deadline, then Peter, I'd say, yeah, you got to get rid of Boone and Cashman. But I felt like they made certainly some positive strides in the latter part of the year. Now they have some big decisions to make. Now the whole Anthony Rizzo, questions Joey Gallo. What do they do in terms of their pitching? Aaron Judge, like they have some questions that they really need to answer. Now, you look at this Yankees team. Severino's healthy now. You would imagine he's going to go back in the rotation next year, right? You would think.
Yeah.
Corey Kluber, what an epic fail that was, huh?
Yeah, it's Corey
Epic
Kluber. I mean,
fail.
I think he's washed.
Like epic fail that was in that tenure with the Yankees. The Yankees, they have some things to do. Now their farm system isn't as deep as it was a couple years ago. I think the Yankees are still going to be a decent team next
Right,
year.
you're the Yankees. You can do what you want.
Yeah, but
pay
I think
Rizzo, pay Judge, let everybody else walk.
That's what you would do.
Yep.
What do you do about pitching?
Figure it out. The Yankees. I don't know. Sign somebody great.
Yeah.
I don't know who's out there, but
yeah, we'd have preview MLB free agency later on, right? That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So Peter, back to the Red Sox here. How far can this Red Sox team go? Right now, they're set to square off tonight. Game 1 against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Going off of that,
ALDS.
they're fine. I mean, they can sign Greinke, they can sign Bauer, they can sign Justin Verlander, they can sign Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer. All right, they're good. They're fine. Yankees.
Okay, fair enough. So what do you think, Peter? How far is Sox going to go?
They're lucky if they win one game.
So you think they'll lose in 4?
Yeah, I will not be. Yeah, I think so. Even though
I'm not writing them off.
The Rays have no starting pitching, but their bullpen is insane. I think
their lineup's insane.
Yeah, their lineup's insane, and I think the ultimate thing that's going to do us in, I think our bullpen is so bad it's not even funny.
You see,
even if
they look pretty damn good
out of the bullpen, even if you have Kershaw out of the bullpen, even if you have because it's a different beast in the playoffs.
I'll tell you what, Alex Cora in the postseason, he's now 12-3. I'm not going to write them off in the series totally. I think they can win some games here. Now, if ultimately gun to my head, what am I going to do? I say Rays win in 5. But I would not be shocked at all if the Red Sox came out tonight, swinging the bat really well and getting a win game 1 here. It wouldn't shock me at all.
So they have Erod game 1.
Erod
game 1, and they have Kershaw game 2, and if Evaldi's good, game 3.
Evaldi's pitching game 3. I think Evaldi's pitching game 3.
Surprised though, Pivetta got the boot in the bullpen, to be honest with you. I thought Erod was going to get that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pavetta's pitched better than Erod, but I think they probably like the whole idea of having Pivetta in the bullpen. I think
that lines up great. If they make it a game 5, I think it's going to be Chris Sale and then Nate Evaldi out of the bullpen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this Red Sox bullpen, I know we kind of crap on it, but Tanner Howick, he looks great. I think you look at other pieces of it. I love my guy, Matty Barnes.
No, I don't trust him at all. That's why he didn't even sniff that game. I mean, Darwinson didn't even make the roster.
No, Darwinson didn't make the roster. Taylor made the roster.
Fine. But... I mean, I don't know. Garrett Whitlock's fine, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Like I think Whitlock, Pivetta, and Tanner Houck. I mean, and if Brazier can get right, Brazier, he's been great at the end of the season. I don't know. I mean, I think it's not as bad as people say, but you would think that tell you what, if Erod comes out in game 1 and he pitches a gem, I'll feel really good.
Oh, it's true. I mean, the Rays don't have started pitching.
And you know what? How's Kevin Cash feeling, right? First postseason game since the old debacle in the World Series. How's he feeling, like, in terms of, like, mentally, in terms of decision making? Like, does he still have that in the back of his mind about pulling pitchers too early? Like, is he going to overthink himself? I don't think so,
because I don't think they have that pitcher to pull anymore.
I don't know. I think there's something there with Kevin Cash. I love the lineup in Tampa. Like, I think Tampa's going to be there. Tell you what, the crazy thing about the Rays here, they won 100 games this year, and it's their best regular season
ever
they've had in franchise history. And the Rays have had some pretty damn good years over the last couple of years. And look, Tampa's a wagon, but
hey, it's crazy. 4th lowest payroll. They can do what they want.
Exactly, right? Tampa does what Tampa does.
But it's good for the Red Sox. They're playing with house money now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no pressure. I think there's more pressure on Tampa than them.
No pressure at all.
But there's pressure on Tampa, though, for the people that actually care about
Who
them.
do you have in the World Series? I have the Astros and the Dodgers. Even from the preseason, I had that. So
who did I have? Oof.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I had the Dodgers and the Yankees. No, I had Dodgers and the White Sox.
You still believe that?
No.
All right, who do you want? It doesn't matter.
Neither team. If I had to change it, honestly, I'm probably going with the Brewers, and then I'm probably going with the Astros.
I like it.
I like the Brewers a lot. I love that pitching staff in Milwaukee. I think the Astros are probably one of the most underrated teams in the American League right now. So that's my pick right now. I think the Dodgers, they are a team that, again, we're recording on Wednesday before the wild card game.
That wild card game, I know that we're going to obviously be in the past, but that wild card game is going to be insane.
Yep. I tell you, it wouldn't surprise me if the Dodgers lost. Like, really
no, I know. So. I think the Cardinals are a team of destiny, to be honest with you.
Could be. I just like Milwaukee. I really do. I think they're the team that no one's really talking about. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Giants got upset in the first round. Just feels like.
I mean, they're facing the Dodgers or the Cardinals.
It just feels like they're ripe. You know what I mean? Like, they had this great story. Padres didn't make the playoffs. They won they won the NL West. Nobody saw that coming. Everyone had them pegged to win 75 games.
Yeah, it was worse than the Red Sox.
And they won 100 games, man. Like, and this might be the last go around for that core. Buster Posey, Crawford, like that might be the last go around. So I am rooting for that story, but I just ultimately think they're probably fool's gold in the playoffs. Well, that just absolutely convinced the Giants to win the World Series now. So
yeah, that's fair. Listen, anybody in the NL can win but the Braves.
I think anyone in the American League can win too. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I guess the Braves are kind of that. Yeah, you're right. The Braves and the Red Sox are both playing with house money, I guess.
It's true.
All right, Peter, let's get into some game picks of the week. So let's build off the success we just had, Peter. Let's go.
10-0.
10-0. Here we go. First game, I'm going Packers -3 over the Cincinnati Bengals. It's in Cincinnati, but I'm not straying away here. I think the Packers offense is really getting into its own here. I think Aaron Rodgers is heating up. I think Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones are doing some good things. Granted, Cincinnati got the win at home against the Jaguars, but I still have some questions about this Bengals team. I don't think Zach Taylor is a good coach. I think Burrow's as legit as it gets, but I still have some question marks about that team. I like the Packers to cover here. I think they win by 7 to 10 points. The Packers are, I don't want to call them light years ahead of the Bengals, but they're light years ahead of the Bengals right now in terms of roster.
You still like Zach Taylor?
Zach Taylor sucks.
I think he's fine, though.
Oh, he sucks.
I think Burrow's going to carry him for a while.
Oh, Zach Taylor sucks. Don't worry. He'll be exposed. If it's not this week, Peter, he will get exposed.
So I have the Broncos +1. I don't care if Drew Lock's going to start because Teddy Bridgewater's in concussion protocol. I don't know if he's going to play, but I've seen enough from the Steelers. Steelers have to show me something. The Week 1 win versus Buffalo was a fluke, and Big Ben can't throw the ball more than 10 yards. So that's a bad franchise right now.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That Steelers franchise is looking worse and worse by the day. Ben Roethlisberger's, man, he's looking bad. I wrote an article about my season predictions, and one of them was I think the Steelers are going to end. I think Roethlisberger's tenure in the NFL is going to end in a really sour note because I don't think Tomlin wants to bench him, but man.
You can't even bench him. You don't have anybody behind him.
I mean, you want to see what Haskins looks like? I don't know. Also, I don't want to get into a tangent about this, but Aaron Rodgers winking at Mike Tomlin, huh?
It's true. No, that's probably going to happen. It's the NFC team and the AFC team. It's probably going to happen.
We'll see about that. Second pick of the week. I have the Titans -4.5 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, the Jaguars are a mess right now. This whole week has been about the Urban Meyers debacle that we talked about earlier in the show. And you have to think that the Titans off a loss are going to play with a lot more urgency than this Jaguars team, who has been dealing with constant apologies and constant questions about their status of their head coach. I like the Titans -4.5. I think the Titans win this game by double digits.
They got a rebound.
Yeah, and that too. They should be healthier by Sunday, and they can't afford to lose.
Oh my God, if they lose to the Jets and Jaguars, woof.
Yep.
But I have the Panthers -3.5. Shout out to UJ. But I just don't like the Eagles' injuries on the offensive line. I think the Panthers are going to get home. I think they're a top 5 defense, which is pretty crazy. And as you said, they're going to Add Gilmore. I don't think he's gonna play though.
No, I don't
this
think he'll
week,
play this week. I don't think so.
But yeah, they got a rebound versus the Cowboys. So
Peter, I'm very proud of you picking that Carolina Panthers. I'm very
Thank
proud of you. I'm going to stick with that game. I'm going to go with the over in that game, over 44.5 for the Eagles. Panthers, you look at it, I think, despite the fact that you mentioned about that good defense, I think the Panthers, they showed they can put up points. They put up 28 last week against Dallas. I mean, I see them winning this game probably like 27-20. That's the over. So, like, I think they're going to put up some points in that game. They have a chance to get McCaffrey back as well.
yeah, he was practicing on Wednesday.
Yeah, he did practice.
So I have
and that's my premium pick of the week, by the way.
Oh, nice. So I have the Bucs minus 10. I think that Brissett is even worse than Tua. That's pretty crazy. I think that Brissett's a team killer. I think the Dolphins are spiraling out of control. They're 1-3. They're going to be 1-4. I think the Bucs are going to rebound. I think their offense is going to look good as new going home, and I think that they're in the market for Deshaun Watson. And don't be surprised if they do that sooner rather than later.
All right, Peter, you talked about it before we recorded. Peter's got a feeling Deshaun could be heading to Miami sooner than we think. My next pick, I'm going to go with the under for the Cardinals 49ers. I like that game under 49.5. 49ers doesn't look like, well, Garoppolo, his status is certainly up in the air. It's going to limit the 49ers' ability to put up points either way. So I like the under here. Hopkins, he's also banged up. And it feels like scoring 50 points is that's a tall task in terms of for this game. I like the under here.
Then I have the Chargers minus 1.5. I like the Chargers, what they looked like versus the Raiders. I think they can pass all over the Browns. And I think that Baker Mayfield is going to hold back the Browns, even though the Browns are 3-1.
They've struggled offensively. They really have.
I know. I think that they're going to have to run the ball and obviously play well on defense. But I don't think they can win in the AFC Championship with Baker Mayfield, to be honest with you.
I think Mayfield has his liabilities, as you said, and I think that's why they're hesitant about giving him that huge extension. Because I think at the end of the day, Kevin Stefanski's put him in a good position to really succeed.
It's true. That team should be I mean, they're 3-1. I mean, they did what they had to do, but I think they're going to fall short in the playoffs.
Fair enough. All right. My final pick, Peter, I'm going to go with the Chiefs minus 2.5 over the Buffalo Bills. Like the Bills, since losing week 1 against the Steelers, they've played really well. But ultimately, I think this Chiefs team, it looks like they're finally getting their feet under them offensively. They looked really good offensively against the Eagles. I thought Mahomes probably had his best game of the season. I like this team this week against the Bills in this big spot. It's a big rematch from last year's AFC Championship, and I like the Chiefs here to win by a touchdown. I don't want to call the Bills overrated, but I think Josh Allen hasn't shown the ability to really play at an elite level as he did last year early on. Now, Allen still played really well, but he has not played at the level he's played in last year. And I think the Bills defense, which has also played well, is going to be put to the test against Mahomes.
This like game should be a shootout. This game is going to be points.
You would think so, right?
Yeah, I hope so. And my last pick is my premium pick of the week, Pats minus 8.5. I think that's way too short with Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Even
I wouldn't go that far.
No, if Davis Mills is 32, even 2 is 31. But like, it's true. No, Davis Mills can't throw the ball at all, and that's a tough task versus Bill Belichick because he's 22-6 versus rookie quarterbacks, and obviously, when you're a rookie quarterback, it doesn't bode well. So,
yep, you just ask Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
What's your survivor pick of the week?
Survivor is the Patriots. They have to win versus the Texans.
I'm going to double down with you. We're going to go with the Patriots as well. All right, Peter. So let's see how we fare next week. Hopefully we can come back and we win in Survivor and we're here again. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But thank you all for listening. Next week, we'll have another NFL recap. We'll probably have some Red Sox MLB postseason conversation. And Peter, I think next week we're going to start previewing the NBA.
Yeah, I know. The NBA is 2 weeks?
Yes.
And I mean, the Bruins are the back burner, but they're starting
in the NHL too.
Too.
The NHL, same thing. So a lot of things coming. So be sure to keep on listening here. Thank you very much.
Stay hot. Go Red Sox.